Welcome back to the MacDocs video blog. I'm Russ. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about armbands and how to carry your iPod while you're running. And first I needed to say one thing from my last blog, and that is that I was wrong. Actually calibrating with my iPhone was a heck of a lot easier than calibrating with the old Nano. Having said that, I haven't tried one of the new Nanos, so maybe they're a lot easier too. We'll have to experiment with that later. Anyway, the two armbands that I experimented with were first the one from Nike that fit my specific iPod, and then this one from Extreme Mac that fits my iPhone. First thing I wanted to say is that I discovered something really quick when I decided to try to run without any kind of armband. And that was, if you have your iPod in your hand, you've got your earbuds in, and you start running, in general that's fine unless you're running on a treadmill like I do. As soon as I started running on the treadmill with it just in my hand or even in the deck and the treadmill in front of me, I realized that it was easy to rip the earbuds right out of my ears or try to rip the iPod right out of my hand when it would catch on the arm, when it would catch on one of my hands, or something like that. Now I know there's some people that say, oh, well, just be careful. Well, I have a better answer, and it's just get yourself an armband. Let me go ahead and talk about the one from Extreme Mac first. And I did like the armband. Did everything that I expected it to do, but there were a couple of gotchas that I didn't like. The first is exactly how you get it on your arm, and that was a real problem for me because in order to actually get it onto your arm, you have to loop it through the backside like such, then you have to slide the entire thing up your arm like this. And to me that was a bit of a hassle. I mean, it's really not that big a deal, but it was a little hassle. You can even see that I put it on upside down for the first time, which I did the first time I ran as well. So I didn't like that so much. The other thing that was a real problem for me, and this may be one of those issues where I just don't know enough to know, is once the iPhone was in here, it was really difficult to control the volume. The volume buttons on this iPhone are on the side, and of course they're completely covered by the armband, and so I couldn't do it really easy. One thing I really did like about running with my iPhone was the fact that when I was done, I could just push a couple of buttons and it would automatically send my running report straight to Nike's website. That was a real plus for me. The real downside is if you're ever running along and the phone rings, it can really scare the crap out of you. So for that one, I give it a big negative just for the phone, not necessarily for the armband. The other thing I really don't like about running with my phone is, I know it's kind of whiny baby, but it's the whole idea that how big it is. When I see this thing sitting on the end of my arm, it just makes me feel like I have to tilt when I'm running because it feels so heavy. I know it's really not, but something in my psyche tells me it is. So I really don't like that much. One thing to mention about this armband, specifically with an iPhone, is since they had that whole antenna gate where Apple admitted that there was a little bit of trouble with the antennas, they agreed to send everybody a little cover, a bumper, and being like everybody else, I took Apple up on the offer and I got one of those. The problem that created is it makes it a little bit bigger and it's a little bit tougher to jam it down into this pocket. It did still fit. There was one other thing, I also have an invisible shield on my iPhone, and if you don't know how I feel about invisible shields, you have to go back and read my blog about that. If you look really closely, you can see that it actually sticks a little bit to the screen when I push down on this cover. And there's a problem that can create, so go back and read my blog and you can find out what I think. Then we go with the Nike armband. I really do like the Nike armband because it gives you the option to just fling it over your arm and go ahead and seal it off. And that was really a plus for me. The big downside to the Nike armband was actually something that I had to discover as I was running. What happened was, I thought that I had to push all the buttons and everything before I could actually start running, then slip it in and start it before I actually started to run. Silly me. All you really have to do is get it set to the point you want, slip it into the armband, then you can put it on your arm, push the center button, and start running. So that was a really strange thing that happened to me at least the first few times I ran until I figured it out. I really do like this armband. It's washable, so once I sweat a little too much on it, I can just pop it right in the wash with the rest of my exercise clothes. It fits really nicely, it's nice and svelte, straight up against your arm, great way to run. If there's anything I didn't like about it at all, and this is really minor, It was actually controlling the volume or pushing the center button once I had the iPod in place. There's something about it that makes you feel like you're running with a shuffle because there's no faceplate that lets you actually see. Who the crud's looking at their arm when they're running anyway, right? So when all is said and done, I really prefer running with my Nano. My 11-year-old has been bugging me for months to give him this Nano. Sorry kid, it ain't happening. As long as I'm running, it's gonna be with this one. Hey, keep running, and remember, you don't have to be common. And we're done.